Okay, now I'm going to show you how to construct the card. These are the base pieces, sort of the foundational elements. This is the pop-up portion, and it is, I think it's 4 by 11. Wait, let me see. 4 by 10. It's 4 inches wide by 10, and that allows you to cut out 2 of them with 1 sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. This is the background. This is what kind of gives support to the entire card. And this is the background of the card, which gives us support to the card. And then I decided that I didn't like I like the purple as a background for the blue, but I don't like it as the background for the front. So I'm going to add another piece. And this one is, I think, 4 by 5 1/4. So I like how that fits on the front and kind of frames the little, whatever castle you're using. So those are the 3 main pieces, kind of what background pieces. So this is the pop-up mechanism, the background of the card, and this just sets off the front castle better. So next, let's go to the front. And I'm going to leave this out so you can see better. So I made little hills for the background, a pathway, the castle, and I cut out a piece of, and this isn't in the pattern, I cut out a piece of just kind of creamy cardstock to function as windows, as the background for the windows. I did put a little drawbridge, and I'm just going to glue that on top. I like the flags. I think the flags at the top of the towers look so good. And there are flags for the inside. I didn't change the size. They're the same size. I think it works. And then some little clouds. And again, I like the clouds because you can kind of set off the towers a little better. It makes them show up. So those are the pieces for the front of the card. And this goes for the fun part, the pop-up part of the card. I did a little pathway, a little stone pathway. It's purple with an overlay. You can just do purple if you want. This is kind of the lawn or the grass around the castle. This is the base of the castle, and it pops up. It glues in here, and so it pops up. And then to make it even more interesting, I added towers. Here, this one I've already glued together. I've added towers, and you can do a flag or not, and they go on a little strip. Let me show you on a side piece. They go on a little strip, this little rectangle that folds flat. Let me show you a little better. Rectangle that folds flat, and that lets them pop up, and it gives you a little more dimension. Now I can go ahead and tell you a problem I had. On this one, I made the strip very narrow, which meant that it only had a tiny glue surface at the bottom, and sometimes it pops up. It was hard to get it to adhere, and I'll show you on this prototype. You see that one kind of, the paper kind of came apart because it's such a narrow glue surface. So to solve that problem, I made these a little thicker so you can see how, so there's more glue surface. Glue surface is very important. If you find that frustrating or it's like, I don't want to bother with that, then what I would do is get some little foam tabs and just put them in there and then put it slightly above the bottom so that you've got dimension, but it doesn't interfere with the folding mechanism. So if you put it flat in the bottom and it's popped up, it won't work. So just, you could add a little foam and move it up just a bit, and that'll give you the dimension you want without having to mess with these kind of narrow strips. They work, but it's a little fiddly. And let's see, what else were we talking about? Oh, I added some windows. This is in the pattern. Actually, the back piece for the smaller front might be in the pattern as well. So all this does is provide a little contrast so that the windows show up. And then you can choose if you want to do window frames or not. I kind of like them. And I'm debating about doing 2 different colors or just 1 color. Yeah, not sure. So I may do a combination. We'll decide about that as we go along. So basically you glue this together, you add the door, you do frames, you glue each tower together, add flags if you like, and then you glue the decorative pieces to the base. So let's get started with that. I'm going to make the front real quick. Okay, let's start off with the hills. I'm using a good glue. It's got a lot of sticky to it. It's not very wet, so it doesn't wrinkle cardstock. I'm using Barely Art glue. You can use other glues, but I just found I like this tip. This isn't even a fancy tip, but I can get a pretty thin line with it. So that's what I've been using. And then smear it together. I like to be able to, I like it also that you got a little time to move, like to make sure things adhere right. And let's glue the little door. I don't need much glue at all for this little piece of cardstock to adhere to cardstock. Oh, and when I cut this out, let me see if I've got another example. One color cut out better than another. The purple for these are called crenellations at the top of the tower. They kind of tore a little bit, whereas they didn't when I used the pink cardstock. It's like it's a better cardstock, I don't know. But I'm not really worried about it. I just want to warn you that it might look a little ragged for these little crenellations at the top of the castle. And let's glue some flags on. I just think this would make the cutest, like little like a princess birthday card or something like that. Or and then you can also make it much more masculine using different colors if you like. If you're going to use the pathway, it needs to line up. So let's glue that down first so we can line up the castle with the pathway. Okay, now we can glue the castle to the hills. And since I've already got glue up there, I'm going to go ahead and glue it to this background piece before that glue dries. And you don't need much. You don't need nearly as much as I just used. Oh, I know. I'm glad I didn't push that down because I like the clouds behind it. I just think they add a little dimension. And that's the card front, which by itself is very cute, I think. Okay, so next, let's construct the inside. I've already done one tower. I've already done the pathway. Let's glue this tower together. And again, you'll see why I like this glue, because I can add just little tiny amounts even with the regular tip. Okay, I've got a tower topper. I like having a contrast there. So I'm adding this kind of rich pink. Okay, flag, I need a flag. Go ahead and add the background to make the windows pop. I like that. Let's add it to the first tower. There we go. So those two are done. Let's glue the main body together. I keep dusting off hairballs. I have a very curious cat who loves to jump on my craft projects. I don't think that's very unusual for a cat. They know what you're interested in. You can put down like a decoy project. They know which one you're really working on. Decoys don't work with the cats. Or if your computer's open, you could have a decoy computer. Nope, wouldn't work. Kind of like a child. You know, you can give them all these toy phones. You know, let them have their own little toy phone. It doesn't matter. They want your phone. They want the phone that works. I saw that in the, I worked in the pediatric ER for many years, and I saw that over and over. I'm like, how do they know? There's the background. Let's add the drawbridge. And windows. Decide about the windows. I don't think I cut enough purple for everything, so what I'm gonna do is, let's see if we can do pink here. I have many more pink windows. I'm going all pink. Always cut out extra windows because they tend to migrate. They like hide from you, and you know. I'll glue those on, and then we'll construct the card. Now we're going to construct the pop-up mechanism for the card. And it consists of several folds that form a rectangle. A rectangle that collapses. So the folds that go away from you are valley folds. A fold that pops out is a mountain fold. This is the only mountain fold. So they're 1, 2, 3, or this one line, basically 3 separate folds that go away from you. So the pattern has them cut out for you and has the lines scored. I hope you can see that. It's a little tricky to fold it. It's not terrible, but it's just a little tricky, and that's one reason I use my ruler. It helps me so I can get this fold without messing up any of the other folds. Let's do the same at the top. The valley folds that go away from me. And we can get a hint of use it to help us get this mountain fold, kind of get it started. So now we're going to do the main fold of the card. And you'll see how it forms the pop-up mechanism. You really just kind of have to get it started. And then you can kind of fold it like this. And we'll make the creases stronger now. Okay. So we can fold it forward, and let's bend it down so we can make the mountain fold. So this should be all our folds. Let's see. Yes, look how nice they are. Okay, so we've got all our folds, and that lets us start assembling the card. So let's add the base of the castle and use the glue. I'm going to put it here because I don't want the sides of the castle to stick. So I just want it on the center fold, and then we can close it down, open, make sure you kind of did it right. Nope, I didn't. It ooched a little to one side, so I'm going to scooch it down a little bit. It's okay if there's a little extra space here. That does kind of let things fold easier. Okay, now it should be good. Yes. Now it's still a little crooked, but I'm not worried about it. It's an old castle. Okay, now let's glue let me see what we should do next. I think we'll do the lawn. And the lawn just kind of fits underneath the castle around the pop-up mechanism. And I don't want to scoot it back all the way to the fold line because I don't want to add a lot of bulk at the fold line. So that's probably being a little picky, but center the lawn. That's good. We've got that. We got a lot of the main pieces. I like this part so much. Let's go ahead and add our pathway. We don't have to add it now. I just like the way it looks. Let's glue our strips together. So all we're doing is constructing basically a rectangle. And I'll show you a way to do it because in order for the fold mechanism to work, it has to lay flat. So in other words, You fold along all the score lines. There are 2 sets. These are equidistant. And then let's just apply a little glue here, and then we'll lay it flat like it's going to be laying down. So we know that when the card is compressed, it makes a nice rectangle. I don't think I said it earlier. I think for most of this I use 65-pound cardstock. Either works, but for the folding mechanisms, the lighter cardstock works better. Okay, now, next challenge. Glue the tower on first or glue the strips on. I don't think it matters much, but if it messes up, it might be easier to fix. Let's just try it this way. All right, so now we're going to apply glue to the back and to the bottom where it's supposed to adhere. So I'm going to line it up on the side, and this is slightly narrower than the tower itself. So let's line it up. I'm lining up the fold at the bottom. Going to add more glue to the tricky part, the really narrow edge, and let's close it and give it a good squish. Apply pressure. Let's see how it does. Yeah, don't pull too hard. Like if you pull it down too hard, it'll pop off. But that looks good. Okay, let's do the next one. This one's not pre-folded. Let me find all my score lines. They're hard to see, but... And generally, I fold towards myself and away. It's easier to fold towards yourself. Okay, now we're going to lay our strip down to make our rectangle so that we know it lays flat. And it works both ways. That's another thing. Now, apply some glue to the back and the bottom. Back and the bottom. Put it on the side of the castle. And let's see. Let's test it. I'm going to use a tool just to make sure it's adhered. And now when we add our towers, they should be able to pop up. Okay, let's see, tower. And I should have applied glue to the strip rather than the tower, because I don't want it to stick to the back when it's closed, so I had to clean it up a bit. Ouch, I did it again. Apply it here. See, that one popped open. I was worried about that. Now I can't close it until I do this. Close it. Nope, popped open again. I'm gonna have to let that one dry. Then we will glue it to our real background, our big background, outer background, I don't know what word to call it. I'm gonna have to leave this one closed for a minute. While we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to do the front. I'm gonna assemble this, glue this to the front of my card. Isn't that cute? Yeah, I think it looks good. I think we've got it. Now, to make the towers show up, I did some little cloud patterns you can add. They're the same size on the front and back, but I think it makes them show up a little better. There we go. the next thing you do is glue it to the background. And what you have to do is not glue your mechanism. You don't want anything to stick here because it's got to pop up. So I apply the glue only around the edges. It's important to glue it at the seam, at this fold line. And center it over your card. Okay, so that's one half. We actually have to glue both halves. I kind of forgot about that. Same thing, you don't want any glue to interfere here. So let's just kind of put it around the edge. And that seam is also kind of important. Ah, shoot. I didn't really center it like I like. There, that's better. It's not exactly centered. Close it. Open. I think what the problem was, I put this just too close to the bottom, just slightly close to the bottom. You have to have enough room. Let me show you on the good one. You have to give it a little room to move. So be sure to move these up just ever so slightly. So the main part of the base is sticking, but right at the tower, it pops up a little bit. So you've seen sort of the right way and the wrong way in the same, but I really like it. It's fun. Anybody would love to get them, so to get a card like this. So, but if you want to avoid this kind of challenge with the towers, you can just glue them on with some foam tabs. And again, you've got to leave room so that it doesn't interfere with the fold mechanism. So anyway, that's the Easy Castle pop-up card, and I hope you will make it. Alrighty, y'all have fun. Bye.